I'm ready when you are. Did you do the "This is WGBB" thing? You ready? Got it? Okay. Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Plate. As always, I'm your host, Nick Sakalis, coming to you live from the WGBB studios here in Merrick, New York. Hope everybody's enjoying the weather today. And I think everybody's going to really be enjoying the weather this upcoming week. It looks like spring is coming sooner than the groundhog said that it was going to be. Didn't the groundhog say it was going to be? Well, I'll tell you something. This is what happens when you trust rodents' opinions about the weather. Not that their opinion is much better than the meteorologists half the time. Yeah, well, pretty much. It's the only job out there that you could be wrong more than 50% of the time, and not only that, and get increases in pay and everything. So, that's what happens. So, as you can tell from my voice, I am in a much better mood than I've been in the past. I've had a lot of stuff that was aggravating me in the real estate world. Not that things are much better, but the weather put me in a much better mindset as well. As you can tell, I'm wearing my eviction moratorium paraphernalia, and I'm still advocating for landlord rights. And for everybody that's listening right now, that's part of the groups, we will be doing another landlord roundtable this week, and I'm actually looking to have more people than we had last time, which is impressive because last time we had a pretty good turnout, and I think we're going to be having an even bigger turnout this time. And you definitely got a lot of landlords that have something they want to say. I've also put out there on past videos that we've had to kind of get some commentary from a lot of our fellow landlords, as far as giving us some feedback as far as if they were able to get the hearings, or if they were able to possibly get any kind of traction with the courts, and if the judges have been working with them. So far, I haven't had anything positive as far as people getting true solutions, although I am hearing more and more people getting hearing dates. So that is a step. It's not, it's not the end all be all, but it's a step. Not a great step. The great step is going to be when people actually start getting some results. And I'm looking forward, I'm hoping to hear a lot of results from people and positive kind of feedback. And I'm not going to relent, and I am not going to back down as far as my campaign for landlord rights. I'm going to keep up with it, and I'm going to make sure that everybody gets their just due. Hopefully, I realistically would love to get everything brought back to bring people whole from this situation. I don't think that's going to happen, but let's be optimistic. On that note, I'm going to give everybody the phone number here in case you want to call in. Obviously, I'm going to be reading off the comments and answering them as the show is going. But the number here, in case you want to call live onto the radio show, is 516-623-1240. Again, that's 516-623-1240. And if I get into a rant and I start going off on a certain, you know, topic, I apologize if I don't get to the calls. And if the time runs out, I'll make sure that I follow up with you after the show. So that being said, if you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. It helps the channel tremendously, and it gets our word out there more and more. The more people that subscribe, the more likes we have, the better the results, and the more I could help everybody. Now, that being said, apparently I hit a couple of nerves on a few people last week with a few of my comments and some of the stuff I was saying, which I didn't think was really that controversial, to be quite honest with you. I didn't believe that I said anything that was really out of order, and I didn't feel that I was attacking my fellow real estate agents, realtors in any way. However, some of the people that were listening thought I was a little harsh, and maybe I was a little bit more blunt about certain things than they were expecting me to, so to say. But here's the thing. I'll jump on one of the topics that we were talking about last week, and that was one of the things that we were pinpointing was a question that was brought up through a few of the groups, which was, should a real estate agent have participated in selling or buying or both a piece of property, a home, on their own prior to actually getting into this business and helping people with that same transaction? And my thoughts were, and they still are the same, I have not changed my position on this, is that I truly feel for somebody to be able to help their client or customer in the best possible way, they should have some expertise and some experience going through that transaction on their own at some point in time. Now, that doesn't mean it's a definitive, and it doesn't mean that that's the end all be all, because there's other routes to take to get to that point, even without owning a home. And I did bring that up, and I'm going to bring it up again. If you have no expertise whatsoever, you're brand new to the business, you never sold a house for yourself, you never bought a house for yourself, you never managed any property, you never did anything of the like. What I truly believe should be the route for that person is, one, to work under somebody that has a lot of experience, to be able to learn and kind of, get themselves a better understanding on how to be able to conduct themselves and how to put it together transactions like that. The other thing that I feel is a good route for them to take is, let's say they're renting a place. Let's say they're a tenant. Start with what you know. Start with rentals and work your way up to sales. You'll make yourself much better as a professional by doing so. And at the same time, you'll be doing your clients and your customers a much better service by have gone through the entire experience. Got a comment over here on YouTube, and that's a DSG label. If you're selling to your investors, being an investor yourself is a huge bonus. DSG label, I cannot agree with you more. I strongly believe in that. And deep in everybody's heart, I think that they'll agree. If they're honest with you and with themselves, they will agree with that as well. Because How are you going to help somebody make such a financial decision, such a critical financial decision, when you really don't know the ins and outs of that type of transaction? And I'll make it really simple and really easy for everybody. You have a certain investment property out there. Anybody, and I'm going to be blunt again, and then people are going to say that I'm being like myself, I guess. I'm going to be blunt about it again. Any moron could take income and expense, subtract the expense from the income, and come up with a number. But there's a lot more than that. There's so much more to that. There's the real feel. Every time I walk through an investment property, and everybody knows that, my backbone, I know, first of all, I'm the director of my commercial department in my company. But besides that expertise, besides that model that I'm working off of, I have years upon years, ever since I was 18 years old, if not younger, but I'll say 18 years old, of property management experience on both a personal level and a level for other people as well. So every time I walk through a property, and I don't even know the numbers at that point, I don't even have to know what the actual income and expense numbers at that point. When I'm walking through that property, I start to get the real feel. And what the real feel is, it's something you can't do without having the experience. Okay? So there's certain critical things that when you're walking through, let's say a multifamily building, let's say it's a 20-family building, and you're walking through it, and you have a broad understanding of what they are asking for and that kind of thing. But at the same time, you're kind of doing the walkthrough at this point just to give yourself an understanding of how it's being maintained. As I'm walking through that property, I can make the immediate decision on things that are being neglected, things that are being maintained, and money that is yet to be seen in a place. And this is what I mean by that. There's always a what's the best word to use? A intangible type of scenario with a certain building that you need to see. And when you're going through it, for example, you have a place that's far away from laundries and that kind of thing. Okay? And it's a walk-up building. You got 20 apartments, and you got a space that's being neglected and unused. Why not look into actually maybe putting a couple washers in there and make some extra income out of that, and at the same time make all your tenants happier by allowing them to be able to do their laundry in-house without having to go a far place to get it done. That's just one example. There's a lot of different scenarios that you could go through as far as where money could be still made in the place. Now, on the flip side of the coin, you have a lot of scenarios where you're walking through a property and you're seeing things of major neglect and things that will possibly cost major dollars down the line for the either owner of the place at this moment or the person that buys the place from them. And that's what I mean by the real feel. You're walking through the place and you're calculating immediately, I need to kind of address this. I need to address this. And it's almost like a checklist kind of a thing. And somebody could be trained and somebody could do everything textbook and basically go off of a script or something like that. But it's not the same unless they've experienced things on a different level. Is it possible? Everything is possible. The odds that they're going to make more mistakes than the person with the experience are much higher. Got another comment here by DSG label. Problem I run it onto is the most successful investors won't have the time or the need to be an agent. Even difficult to get mentorship from the really successful. That could be something that is an issue as far as being able to find somebody that's willing to share their expertise and give you the time to teach you. But that, as a new agent, as a new professional to this business, is up to you to provide a value to that person that's helping you as well. Okay? And I'll explain this. So I get people all day, every day, picking my brain, asking me for questions, asking me things that I could help guide them to make them better, or as a real estate professional, or possibly work on a certain deal that they're having problems with, and I'll do everything I can to help provide them. But obviously, I'm busy, and I can't just sit there, drop everything, and help them with what they have. But I will give them some insight, some input to be able to guide them and help them in the best possible way without really like going far into it. And sometimes when I have the time, I will get more into it and help the person as much as I can, because I have a weird mentality that, when people are coming into the real estate agents are, a very private and secret type of group. They don't like to share their secrets in general. But I always had a different approach. I always believe that the stronger the agents that are surrounding me, the stronger it's going to make me. First of all, it's going to amp up my competitive levels, because I'm a very competitive person. So I always have the mentality of, I want to be the best. I am the best. Therefore, I need to keep making moves and keep doing things that show that I'm the best. Okay? So my mentality is, in order for me to be at my peak, I need to have that motivation, and I need to have everything else surrounding me and giving me that energy and that vibe. Because I'll tell you something, there's nothing worse than working out of a dead office where you're literally the only active person and everybody around you is dead wood. Yeah, you're making a lot more money than everybody else, but I guarantee you, just because of that lack of energy, that extra deal that you would make, that extra move, that extra transaction that you would do, you might not have that motivation to do it. So I like the energy. I like to be able to, have people push me to my limits, and I like to push people to their limits in my environment. So that being said, and not to get too much on a tangent, I have the mindset of, okay, if you're new to the business and you really need to be mentored and you need to be guided, then what you should be doing is not only asking that person you want the help from, with your hands out, but you should also be offering something. Because, like I said, I help people through my office. And a lot of my peers, even if they're not my offices, I get my, brain picked by a lot of people on a daily type of situation. It's not only the real estate agents. I get it from property managers, landlords, clients of mine all the time. But I also need to get some business done, and I need to get myself going on an operating level. So I do take people in on my team that want to learn from me, want to become better as agents, but at the same time, they can offer me something by helping me sustain, improve, and progress with my business. So there's a give and take. And when there's a will, there's a way. When I first started in this business, when I first started in this business, I got zero help. Not only did I get zero help, I had people trying to sabotage me to fail. And that's not an uncommon thing. You know, I had these old dinosaurs, and I'm sorry to the old people out there. I had these, I had these old dinosaurs that have been doing the same business for 50 years. They see this guy that's coming in. I really got into gear. I started in my late teens, but I really started amping up like for transactions because I was really more involved with the property management and working on investment properties and working on little groups to be able to like learn the real estate business from a different angle. At that point, I really started getting into the transactions more and more as I got into my late 20s. So you got these, you know, what's a nice word for a dinosaur or old person, Trevor? I don't know. These mummies. So I call them that because honestly, they built a chip on my shoulder. When I was younger, I had a real chip on my shoulder because I could tell that they were trying to screw me over and they weren't doing the right thing. They really weren't. So they were basically giving me little like nuggets and little bits of advice that were basically setting me up for failure. And you know, I got caught up in the beginning because I'm thinking, all right, look at this nice little old lady or this nice little old man, and they're trying to help me out. That I'm so thankful for that, and that kind of thing. Meanwhile, they had their agenda. They had their set ideas of what they wanted to do. They didn't want to see me do well. They didn't want to share the pie. Nobody wants to share the pie. Nobody wants to basically give up any of the control or the market share that they have in a business. Nobody wants to do that. But you know, there's a right way. You know, you're better off not saying anything to somebody rather than doing the wrong thing by guiding them in the wrong way. But I would have that. So I keep that in the back of my mind all the time. And when I see young agents and or new agents coming into the business, I don't want to be that old decrepit mummy. I don't want to be that dinosaur that basically tries to take a chunk out of the young people and the new agents. I don't want to be that person. So I try to do the best to help guide people in the best possible way I can. You know, and you know, there's also a thing called karma too. You know, and I'll tell you something. When I started taking off and I started doing business on different levels, and all those mummies and dinosaurs that were trying to take a chunk out of me when I first got into the business realized that either we're going to be nice to this guy or we're going to have, you know, butting our heads down the line. When they realized that, then they started trying to, you know, let be PG again, trying to kiss my butt to do business with me. But the thing is, I am a professional, and my personal, you know, attitude towards people, whether I like them or not, if I need to get something done for business, for my client or for my customer, I will swallow my pride and get it done for my client. On a personal level, it's a different story. I don't have to associate with the person and I don't have to deal with them. But on a business level, we have to do what we have to do in order to do the right thing for our clients. So that being said, I am in the mindset of having agents that are brand new to the business, and they should do this as a federal law. The same way they have apprentices for appraisals when they first get into the business, they should set up real estate apprentices and let them learn the business in the right way. But that's not the way it's structured right now. So I can't think of hypotheticals, and I can't try to work with something that doesn't exist. Right now, the way the model exists in the real estate world, especially here in New York, because I'm going to go off of the model for how you get a license here in New York. The way to go about it is you go, you take the courses. Once you're done with the courses, you complete them. You take an exam at the end of the course. Once you pass that exam, then you go and you take a New York State exam, and then you're licensed. And then when you get licensed, you're a salesperson. There's two different things. You could be a salesperson or you could be a broker. The real big difference between being a salesman and a broker is the fact that, one, being a broker, you have to have more expertise and experience. And at the same time, you could open up your own brokerage when you get that broker's license. But there's a lot of people out there that haven't gotten their broker's license for one reason or another, myself included. I keep putting it past because I got to take another 75 hours of classes, and when you're too busy, you seem to neglect things like that. But I think that's on my punch list for 2021, getting that finalized finally and getting my broker's license, because you never know. You know, I like to have my options open. If I ever wanted to open up my own place, I have that option as a broker. Not that it's going to change the way I operate in any way, but it's something good to have. But again, I'm going off track. So you have the salesperson, that license that you get immediately as soon as you pass the courses. Okay. Under New York State law, you have to work under a brokerage or under a broker in order to operate and sell real estate. Now, theoretically, that broker should be guiding you, or the manager that they have in the office should be guiding you and helping you with your transactions and kind of putting you in the right path. And there's some companies out there that have additional training that is very valuable. Not that I'm giving a plug to my company, Coldwell Banker Realty. I'm not giving the plug out there for this reason, but one thing I will say, because same way I'll say negative things, I'll say positive things about my company, about any other company. They have great training once you get into the company. So for the agents that are wet behind the ears and brand new, they'll be able to take advantage of that and kind of get a step up on top of people that don't have that available to them. If you're in a mom and pop real estate brokerage, you're not going to have a lot of that training given to you. It's understandable because they just don't have the resources and the funds to be able to put that into their agents. It's understandable. But then they might have other ways of going about it. They might be more hands-on, etc., or whatever the case is. That being said, that's still not enough to be able to give you that real experience, that true life factor. First of all, I think everybody that's in this business should take some type of personality training course and be able to understand who's on the opposite side of the table for them. The same way I talk to Trevor here is not going to be the same way I'm going to talk to the other person that has a different character, a different attitude, or another person on the other side that has a different character or a different attitude. You have to be able to pick up on the attitude and the character of the person across from you and be able to work in the proper way. So if you have a super high energy person on the opposite side of the table from you, and you are super low energy, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to really do well with each other. If you got somebody that's like, go, let's go, I got to do this, got to do that, whatever, and I got to, I got to see this, I got to that, and you're the one saying, hold on a second, we're going to take our time with it. You know what's going to happen? You're going to aggravate that person, and you're going to lose them sooner or later. You know, not that some people don't need some reining in, because honestly, some people are too hyper. But you have to be able to pick up on these traits. That's something you're not going to learn out of a book. You have to be able to pick up on investment properties and how the income is generated and what the feel of the street is around that investment property. You have to understand these things, because if you don't, you're going to burn your client. And honestly, the only way to be able to do it the right way is with experience. So if you got a leg up and you've already done it on a personal level for yourself, for better or for worse, whether you made your mistakes on yourself or you made your triumphant victories on your by yourself, it's all on you. And you were able to learn and do everything the right way, instead of learning and experimenting on somebody that trusted you with their resources, with their finances, and you steer them in the wrong way. You don't want your clients to be your guinea pigs. And trust me, I'm not perfect. When I first started, I made a lot of mistakes. But I learned fast. And I'll tell you something else. At least I own up to my mistakes. And that's another problem that a lot of new agents do. They don't own up to their mistakes. If you make a mistake and you do not recognize and you do not adjust to that mistake and do not acknowledge it, you'll never get better. Not only that, you're going to burn your clients even more. Somebody calls you up on a mistake and then blame everything outside other than yourself. What are you accomplishing? What are you really accomplishing? So one of the things I did, I went back to the boards and looked at the groups, and there was another new blog that opened up, and this one was called Help Settle a Debate. Realtors should own their own home and have gone through the buying and selling process. Please provide both sides of the argument. Okay, so that was the message that was put onto the comment board. And I'm not going to say which group this was from, and I'm not going to refer to any names because I don't want to call people out. They put their opinions, their things out there, not to be scrutinized individually. But I am going to scrutinize some of the comments I heard without having to put people in there. And I'll just read off a few of these so people can kind of understand where the mindset. And this is all coming from real estate professionals. And I'm going to, after I read off a few of these, I'm going to kind of say why I kind of agree or I disagree with these things. And you could be part of the group that actually comments on this. So I had one immediately. The first person that immediately put it in there said no. And then another person, why just one? With a question mark. I don't understand why people answer a question with a question instead of being straight to the point with the answering. All right, another comment. Anyone should. If you haven't, you should have a plan to. I didn't own a home for 4 years in business, but I always mentioned it was my goal to save for it. Okay. So at least this person took a different approach and said, I'm trying to do what you're doing. And at least they were honest with their clients instead of pretending that they were the super genius and they knew everything when they didn't even buy a house for themselves. Because that's a tall order. It really is. How are you going to tell that family or that person or that individual that been scrimping and scraping for years to buy that first home and have a ton of questions about it and not sure if they're making the wrong or right move and completely clueless about the scenario, how are you going to turn around and with conviction certify their thoughts, back them up, point out the flaws or the positives that might be with that home when you never experienced that yourself? And again, a certain amount of experience will make up for that difference, but you would have to have sold quite a few houses to start building up that experience. When if you're starting from a point where you at least have a knowledge base, a basic knowledge of the process, it's something as simple of going from contract to closing, of living that and understanding that, you'll be able to do much more justice for your client. So let's keep reading some of these other comments. Who cares? I bought my home 20 years ago. My second. Things change fast. Don't know why you would put a comment like that. And I think it's a pretty obnoxious comment to put in there. And you can actually, it is what it is. Then we have another person. One has nothing to do with the other, really. You could tell some of these agents that are comments are agents that really don't do any business, or they're brand new, and they're trying to justify them not owning a house and not having the experience to be able to compete with the other professionals that do have the experience. Another one, get out of here. Sheesh. You see, you have a lot of realtors that are very apprehensive to this concept and this thought. It's good to be able to hear these things. So when you're hiring an agent or a realtor in the future, to know what to ask them. I strongly recommend, if you're having somebody selling a home for you, to ask them, do you own a home? Have you owned a home? Have you sold a home in the past for yourself? They don't have to tell you their address. They don't have to tell you their financial situation. But it's a good question to ask. Or if you're an investor and you're looking to buy an investment property, have you invested in a home? Are you an investor? Have you gone through this process on your own? Honest, simple question. But the answer is worth a lot to you. And you should not be shy about asking that if you're going to be hiring somebody. You have a lot of money that's being played around with by the person that's being hired by you. And you have every right to ask whatever questions you want of that nature. Just don't make it personal. That's all. Another one, yes. Here's another obnoxious comment. A surgeon doesn't perform surgery on their own body. You can practice and become an expert in the process without experiencing it on yourself. Okay. That's kind of true. But that surgeon does practice on cadavers before they go to live people. They do know how to use a scalpel. They do know how to actually use their hands and the tools to be able to do surgery. They also follow another doctor while they're in school and while they're in internships and follow what they're doing. They don't immediately take a knife to a live human being. So this comment kind of encapsulates the arrogance, the obnoxiousness, and the naivety of certain realtors. And this makes me furious because what it does is it lumps me into the same category and a whole bunch of other really qualified, experienced professionals in the same category as obnoxious agents like this. You know, To put a comment like that, that's ridiculous. You know, is it a wrong thing to want to have somebody that will actually be experienced? Nothing wrong with that, and it's really logical. It really is. Here's another one. Might make might make you empathetic, where you understand the process personally, and home ownership. You might relate to the new buyers and homeowners, but not technically needed. Okay, that is a fair comment and understandable. And I like the fact that they took a very even keel approach with their comment on that. And it's true. You are more empathetic. You do understand them, and you do understand the process more personally. And you could relate to the new buyers and homeowners. And is it technically needed? No. But it should have a little asterisk next to it, because if you don't have that as a experience factor, then you should have some experience following and shadowing other individuals that do have that experience. Another person agreed, definitely aids in insight, but not necessary. Okay. So everybody's kind of following along the same lines that I kind of went through on that. Let's see another one. No, why does it need to be a requirement? It helps because I personally bought and sold homes, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a requirement to sell real estate. Again, people are focusing with the requirement. The question is, will it make you a better broker or agent? And my answer, and I'm going to keep driving this home, absolutely yes. It does make a difference. It makes a dramatic difference, a huge difference. Here's another comment. Everyone should own their own home, but the market realities don't always accommodate. Realities don't always, she can't even spell. Realities don't always accommodate. Yeah, they don't accommodate. Not everybody can buy a house from the day they were born. We'll work up to it. Some people are handed things over. Good for them. But, the majority of the world, we work up to, making those purchases. You work up to make that purchase of your first car. You make the work up to the function of buying that first house. You work up to that point where you buy that first investment property, etc., etc. You work up to all that. So makes sense that it's not a requirement, but people need to stop emphasizing on the requirement and not get caught up on the fact that should it be the end all be all. It's what should be the right protocol for new agents to be able to be trained. And I know this is controversial. This is a topic that, a lot of real estate agents out there, they're listening to me right now, or they're going to hear it on the playback, and they're going to say, Nick, how are you talking like this? You started from some point too. And I did. And I absolutely did. I started. But you know where I started from? I started from family-owned properties. Yeah, not everybody has that same advantage, but that's how I started off as far as understanding the interaction of investing and dealing with tenant landlord issues. I also started off on the rental basis. And it took me a few years to get to the point where I made a first sale. And I had to build myself up to that. And I didn't have the nerve, to be quite honest with you, to jump into sales right away, because I was still learning. And I was doing quite well. Believe me, If you know how to work the rental process well as a real estate agent, you could do quite well, and you could actually do better than some agents that are doing only sales. But I honed my craft. I became an expert in every sector I touched. And you're gonna say I'm arrogant or a little bit of abrupt the way I'm saying it, but I made sure that every single thing I touched, I made myself as much of an expert as I humanly can in that sector on, before I moved on to the next spot. And the truth be said, I didn't know a thing about every single component that I touched before I touched it. But I made sure I learned damn quick. I made sure I observed. I learned from what I was seeing in my environment. I learned from my own personal experiences. And I applied that. So I'm not saying that people that don't own a house, because that's kind of obnoxious thing to say, should never sell property. There's people that their entire lives they're in a rental. Don't understand why they're in the real estate business if they're going to do that, but they are for their own personal reasons. It could be financial reasons. It could be a lot of different reasons. I'm not going to get into people's personal lives. But they need to learn from somewhere. And they need to follow what successful agents they have around them and learn from them before they put their own hands into a transaction or on a client and possibly cause a lot of damage. Sorry. It's the truth. The truth hurts sometimes. So I'll read a couple more comments. Another person, yes. Another one, each person is at a separate stage in life. To expect someone to own a home is a big expectation. Why? Why? Why is it a big expectation? Would you invest with a stockbroker that doesn't invest in the market? Is that an oddball comparison? Would you buy life insurance from somebody that doesn't necessarily believe in life insurance and buy one that doesn't own themselves? Does that make any sense? Trevor, would you invest in the stock market if you had a broker that doesn't invest in the market? It would be weird, right? Would you buy life insurance from somebody that doesn't even own life insurance themselves? So why would you hire a real estate agent that never bought a house or never invested in a house or never sold or did a transaction? Doesn't make any sense, right? And if they don't own a house, okay, not everybody owns a house. How many sales did you make? You have to work off something. And that's where it works. You have to have somebody that's experienced that kind of mentors them into getting to that position. And then they'll probably end up buying a house down the line anyway. So I think it's a really logical thing. But you see this? You see this? These are all comments on this one blog. There were, let me see. 1,929 answers on this. And I'll tell you, most of them were like obnoxious answers. And this is why I always say there's too many people in our business that really don't belong in the business. Sad. It's a sad state of truth. Here's another one. Yes, otherwise you can truly understand what the people involved in the transaction are going through emotionally. Logical answer. Yes, it's like telling a parent how to parent when you don't have kids. Okay, that's a good comparison. Here's another one. I don't think it matters. A well-trained agent that provides excellent service to their client is enough. That's a open answer because she also wrote down a well-trained agent. What makes them well-trained? What are the parameters of being well-trained? Are you well-trained just because you passed the test? I could guarantee you're not. Are you well-trained because you went through additional training through your brokerage? It helps, but you're still not ready. Are you well-trained if you followed somebody for X amount of time, helped them with the transactions, followed them closely, and then made sure that you knew what you were doing when you took a client on yourself? I think that's the best bet. So I hope that's what she meant. They could afford to own their own homes, but the way that their NAR dues are set up, that's a stab at NAR, the National Association of Realties, or the stupid fees that they charge us. Not going to get into that. I got a little bit into that last week, and I got into that other times, and I will get into that again as far as that whole situation being a racket. No, ma'am. Okay. Yes, bull. I'm just going to read two more because I don't want to end the show up on just comments. It's definitely different being a buyer yourself than just a broker, but no, it shouldn't be necessity. How many agents came into real estate after owning the entry level job? I mean, it's only a couple grand to start making six figures. Not everyone had. Again, the reasons why or why not somebody was able to purchase a house is not the question. The question is, does it help? And it absolutely does help. It definitely does help. And if they're just jumping in from their entry level job into this business without the expertise, they're setting their clients up and their customers for a rude awakening and themselves. So I got one last obnoxious comment I'm going to read because I'm not going to read all, close to 2,000 comments here. So you should have a lawyer have been on trial for a crime. A surgeon should have an operation done on him. A police officer should have been arrested. All that sounds ridiculous as the point of the post. This person, honestly, is the most ridiculous person that I read a comment from. It's absolutely astounding of what kind of commentary people will put down and thinking that their logic actually makes sense. Now, you don't agree with me? Put a comment below and tell me that I'm out of my mind. I will guarantee you that I'll disagree with you, but if you put it in a logical way, at least I'll accept it. This is insane. This is insanity. So I'm going to put a public warning out there right before I sign off right now, because I'm about to sign off because Trevor's going to kick me off. I'm going to put a public warning, let's call it a PSA. When you're hiring somebody to do the very best they can for you, you better make sure they're qualified, they have the experience, and they have all the capabilities of doing the right thing for you. Better make sure that's the case. And again, this is not me puffing up myself as far as me being the best agent in the world and doing everything is. Again, I believe I am, but I'm not going to be able to help every single person listening on the radio right now and being on the internet and whatever the case is. You're all in different territories. you're all going to have to find an agent on your own. And you're going to have to figure it out either the easy way or the hard way. And if you really want the easy way to do it, qualify your person, ask them the tough questions, and you'll be much happier at the end of the transaction for it. On that note, I'm going to sign off because we already went over. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Press a like button. I will see you again next week, just like every week, Monday, 6 to 7 p.m. And have a great week. It's going to be a beautiful one. And make lots of money in real estate. Have a good night, everyone.